Welcome to the Obesity Medicine Podcast with your host, Dr. Rentea, board certified in internal medicine and obesity medicine. Here, we talk about a path to metabolic health, and we have real conversations about chronic weight management and living a full life. Just a reminder, I am a physician, but I'm not your physician. So everything that's on this podcast is for informational purposes, but please go talk to your doctor about what's right for you. There is no medical advice being given on this podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm so excited that you're joining me today. And I want to say welcome to all of our new listeners. I recently have had some videos on TikTok that really took off, which I was not anticipating. I have to tell you, I make videos pretty much in the corners of my days. And what I mean by that is I'm busy seeing patients all morning, and I'll kind of make a 2-3 minute video before I eat my lunch, and then I move on with my day. And these things get edited and posted so quickly. It is less than a 10-minute process when I make social. So by the way, if I have any clinicians listening and you're thinking, well, I can't do all this social and it takes so much time and I actually have a little group that I have. I don't talk about it often because most people, it doesn't apply to them, but I actually help clinicians to do this really quickly because I don't think that getting good information out there should be a painful process. But that's not the point of today. The point here is that these videos took off, and I'm going to talk today about the 3 phases of being on a GLP-1. And I think I have woven this into a lot of other episodes, but I think I just stated it so matter of fact in one video that it really resonated. I'm going to go over today what I see happen as people start GLP-1s and then what ends up happening as they go up on the dose, as they've been on a dose for a long time. And there are these phases, and it's a natural arc. And so you don't need to be surprised when these things happen. But what was so clear from this video that got, at this point, hundreds of thousands of views and thousands of comments is that everyone said, oh my gosh, I'm in this phase, I'm in that phase, or, oh, I experienced all of these, I thought I was abnormal. Everyone thought that they were a special snowflake when really this is just the arc of things. Being on a GLP-1 medication follows a very similar arc to what it's like when patients have bariatric surgery. So for me, I guess I was never shocked when I saw these patterns because I've always seen this. And so one of the things is that with overweight or obesity, again, on this podcast, I really like to hammer home that it's a chronic medical condition, right? It means that you did not choose this, you did not pick this. It's partly based on genetics, partly based on some of the things in our environment or what our lives look like or stress levels or some psychosocial factors. But a lot of it, let's say about 70% of it, is based on genetics, and there's hormones at play and so many things. It's a very complex disease. And so people, I think, thought when GLP-1 medications came out, oh, amazing, I'm going to get on this, never again think about food and everything solved. And what I know is that the definition of a chronic medical condition is that you have to manage it for life. And there are peaks and valleys. So there's times when you feel so great, and then there's times when you struggle. That's just really part of it. The quicker you can come to acceptance of that, the more you can get into problem-solving mode. And whenever these things get hard, when problems flare up, then you just handle them instead of thinking, I'm a failure, I've put on 20 pounds. Sometimes that's going to happen. Like someone commented on that video how they had to pause it for a few weeks for a procedure. Maybe it was a surgery. I forget what they had commented. And they put on 20 pounds and they said, I'm so disappointed, or I'm so frustrated, right? And the thing I want to stress is I totally get that. Valid. Let's have a 5-second funeral and then let's move on. Let's move on from that emotion and get to, okay, what's my next no regret move here? What's the next move I need to do? What can I get back to that worked? Is there something new I need to try? Do I need to go back to a doctor? I'm going to talk about these 3 phases, but real quick, just a little bit of background on what I've been doing recently. I have been putting a ton of work into planning my April 2026 in-person retreat. It's happening in Indianapolis, Indiana. And right now, I want to say we have a group of about 11 or 12 women. I need to look at the exact head count. And then with the people that are coming to help support me to host the retreat. So I'm hosting it, obviously, but I have Amanda Sabaker coming in to run a workshop. She's an incredible coach and really great friend of mine. She's been on the podcast before. She is excellent. If you have any type of business needs, she is just incredible. I'm also bringing in Laura LaPratt. She's a stylist. The whole goal of this retreat, the name of it is Beyond the Scale. So the thought process really being, I have seen for years now, women go on this journey. They have transformed in some capacity with their health. And you really need to get to the place then where you get to the next side, where you work on body image. There's usually a lot of trauma there. There's a lot of just not being used to dressing your best, feeling your best. There's a lot of questions about health and supplements and genetics. And I said, you know what? I want to do it all in one retreat. I know it's a lofty goal. I know it's a lofty goal, but I saw the vision in my mind. And this past year, I invited some people that had done the 30/30 program. That's the small group program, as well as some others that have been in my world for a really long time. So everyone that's at this retreat, no one's really new to any of this, but we're just really going to do a lot with workshops on body image. I had them all run their genetics reports before, so they're going to get some customized reports. We're going to go through how can you actually realistically work with this report, not have it work against you, but what can you do to benefit from that? We're going to talk a bunch about supplements. I think that this is such a misunderstood area. Everyone's taking random stuff. They have no idea what they're taking, and there is great stuff to take, but you need to know what to take. You need to look how to vet what you're taking. Why would you want to take certain stuff? And the thing that I can't even believe we were able to make this happen for this retreat, my mom and sister are going to come. Now, for those of you that don't know, my mom is a world-renowned physician that helps with women's health. I mean, women have been coming to her. They fly in from all around the country. I'll never forget growing up, there was a time when, well, actually multiple times, when sometimes my mom would say, oh, I'm going to be home a little bit later. The clinic and where we lived was about 30 minutes away from O'Hare International Airport. And she'd say, the family called, they're coming. There's 5 of them. They're on the schedule. They would block the whole afternoon. They're like, we flew in, we're here. There's more traffic than normal, things like that. And sometimes you got to go where the good doctors are. And there was not a concept of telemedicine before. If you wanted to be seen by somebody, you flew to them. And this is still a thing nowadays. And I know that, this isn't an option for everyone, but anyway, I cannot believe that we're going to have her there. And yes, I was like, I need to bring you in, and I want to bring some women's health into this, because a lot of who is in my world, they are either starting to go through perimenopause, in perimenopause, or in menopause. And we don't talk enough about it. And what's really interesting is, how there's been this whole, now we're realizing how good hormones are and things like that. Well, frankly, having grown up, I always knew that. And the only difference being that clinicians were not listening to their patients. They were not doing testing. They were not actually looking at who's in front of them. It's so funny because my mom had always been doing all those things, and now it's just what's evidence-based and what's on trend right now. But the reality is, if you had always been listening to what a woman was going through, this has always been a thing. I can't believe all the things we're going to do, the real life, like let's make this food together, right? Like nutrition workshops, we're going to do a protein tasting. I'm kind of calling it like a battle of the proteins because I am bringing in a lot of different products that I want people to try, and I want them to see, do they like these things or not? And I want to educate a little bit on how can you look at these things and figure out what might be better or not for you. And so these are all just things that when you're in person, it is just so much easier to do these things. We can do a sound bath the day they come. I know I've talked about that before on the podcast, but that's really a passive restoration modality where the day when they're coming in, everybody is out of sorts, whether you've been driving, flying, everyone's excited, but you actually need to be calm to take in all this information throughout the retreat. And there's so many conversations that you have with people, and that can be actually really exhausting. But if you are really nice and regulated, you have such a better chance of taking it in and having a great experience. We're going to do that the day they come. All of this planning, let me tell you, it's not quick. About 6 months out, I have been just massively preparing for this. I can't wait. I actually have 2 retreats because that, and also there's a group that I run with Amanda Sabaker where we help female physicians called the Female Founders Accelerator. And we're doing that one in February. I went from doing no retreats to now multiple retreats. So I'll let you know how 2026 goes, but more on that to come. Today, I want to talk about, again, the 3 phases with GLP-1. So I'm going to tell you first just what the 3 phases are, and then what you need to look out for and what could help in each phase. Again, each of these could be 10 episodes on their own. This is the kind of stuff that I usually stick into when I do really big deep dives on the behind the curtain, those little mini drops of the behind the scenes podcast. This is usually the type of stuff that I dig into. Okay. So phase 1 is you are suppressed. Suppression is what I want to call it. In the suppressed phase, if you are a hyper responder or more on the really responsive side, this is not everyone. These are the people that absolutely love it and that are preaching to the world how amazing it is. But you are so suppressed with food, you hardly think of food, you don't have any urges and cravings, everything's really easy, weight's really dropping off. It is just this bliss nirvana, and you think that's always going to be the case. And we'll come back to that, what you could do during that phase. Okay. Phase number 2 is that you are less volume restricted. I call this more food, the more food phase. You now realize, oh, that's interesting. The weight's staying off, but now I can eat more than normal. So what will sometimes happen is, let's say I have someone, they're still losing fat and they're doing great and their health is improving. So they've been on the same dose for, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And then they'll start to tell me it's really interesting. I'm able to eat more, but I'm still making progress. And again, because I'm so close in the relationship with my patients, seeing them monthly, I am able to tell them that's absolutely no problem. Let's do XYZ. Okay, that's phase 2. Phase 3, urges and cravings return, not as bad as they were before, but they're here and there and people freak out. Okay, so let's talk about phase 1 when you're super suppressed. The one thing I want to tell you is don't go too quickly. So again, don't surpass 1% total body weight loss per week. Don't make this, oh, I'm so suppressed that I don't eat. Set timers if you need to. No, I don't want you getting sick because you're eating past what feels enough and things like that. But you really do need to get your nutrition in. I would still focus on whole-based foods. In the 5 mistakes that people make on a GLP-1 mini course, I talk about how the foods need to be more nutrient dense, and I give you actual examples. You do not want to lose weight too quickly during this period, okay? You want to still focus on whole-based foods, but make it more nutrient dense. Instead of having a big salad is basically all water, has no fiber. So salad is actually not your friend. I'm not against salad, but I'm just saying, like, sometimes people are like, I can't get all this stuff down. And it's okay. So you need to eat foods that have fiber and protein, but that are more dense. So for example, edamame fits in that category. You get a great amount of protein and fiber, but it's not a big bowl of lettuce, right? So these are things that can very easily be solved for. So you need to prioritize what matters in this period. You need to prioritize getting your protein, getting your fiber. It's the same stuff I talk about all the time, but here's the thing that really needs to matter. Do not chase the feeling of suppression. Some people really love this. It's a very slippery slope. And so what I really say is that's actually not the goal of these medications, that you're so suppressed you don't eat. The goal is metabolic help. It's not create an eating disorder. The reason I say don't fall in love with suppression, don't chase that, you want to get enough help where you're able to do the things that you need to do, that you're not having urges and cravings all the time. Like, that's the reason we want it, but we don't want it where you're so suppressed that you don't eat. So that would be what I really would look out for with the suppression phase is, do you need to set timers to remember to eat? Are you in some capacity looking that you're getting enough protein and fiber? Are you doing a body composition monthly and making sure that you're not losing more than 1% per week, so 4% in a month? I have all these formulas on my website. If you go to renteaclinic.com and you click on podcast, you can search total body weight loss percentage, and you'll find the episode and the writing where we have the formulas, everything like that. I also have it inside the mini course, the 5 mistakes people make on a GLP-1. So really all my programs have all these formulas in it. Don't lose more than 1% per week, 4 in a month. So if you're losing more than that, then we have to look, do you need more nutrient dense foods? So you might need to change those things. So you don't want to lose too quickly, because otherwise you lose a bunch of muscle. That's most people. Sometimes right in the beginning though, some people will lose a lot those first few weeks or month or two. And a lot of that is just inflammation going down, water weight changing. Don't get too worried about that. That's why I'm really a fan of looking at how the body composition changes. Phase number 2, when you're noticing that you're physically able to eat more food, remember that this was always what needed to happen. This is not a failure. This is always the direction that it needed to go. So now you get back to volume-based eating. Bring your salads back, bring some cucumbers back, green peppers, whatever it is you're into. I'm always talking about the things that I like. With Greek yogurt, maybe you're having 2 Greek yogurts, right? Like, instead of 1 portion, you do 2. Although Greek yogurt, a portion is 3/4 of a cup. And let's be real, if you do that plus some blueberries, you're not going to have room for much else, right? But my point is, let's give you more berries. Berries are very low calorie, very high fiber, amazing on the glycemic index. They don't jack up your blood sugar. Let's get back to some of this volume-based eating. Absolutely no problem. The problem becomes that if you didn't watch your nutrition in the suppressed state, then once you get to the more food state, phase 2, you freak out because you think, oh my gosh, I'm going to gain the weight back. Look at me eating more. You can have incredibly healthy, amazing food and still do great. So again, people still make traction. I want to stress with all these phases, the data shows us, and I see this clinically in the clinic, this is real, it's not just in a study, that you keep the weight off as long as you continue to do the behaviors that you did up to that point. That's why we can't do unrealistic things right in the beginning. I hear all the time online, well, I just need to real quick get it off. I'll just pay for the meds 1, 2, 3 months, and then you'll see what you're going to do next. That makes absolutely no sense. Don't do it. It's a chronic medical condition. You have to be able to do these things for life. Okay, so that's in phase 2. You're going to get back to volume-based eating. You're not going to forget your protein, fiber, fats. You're going to play around with, do the ratios need to change? Remember, if you're needing more food, it could be a bulk issue, which is fiber, like stretch receptors in the stomach, things like that. It could be a protein problem, a satiety problem. But remember, along with satiety go fats. Fats are the things that are helping leptin that says you're satisfied, you've had enough. If you're not getting the right macronutrient ratio for that, you could have a problem. Now, you can work with a registered dietitian or a nutritionist. You can work with someone on this. Or if you don't have the funds or the time, or you don't want to do that, then just slowly change the ratio on things. So this is what it looks like practically. It's that if you're like, okay, I'm looking at my plate and I realize I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head. You have some rotisserie chicken on the plate and you have some veggies. And you think, well, I'm getting my protein and I'm getting fibers. You have no fats on that plate. Can we throw a fourth of an avocado, half of an avocado? Can we put a little piece of cheese? Can we do a few nuts? We need to balance that in some capacity. Otherwise, even though you're getting protein and a great amount of fiber, you might still feel incredibly what I call like scroungy, right? Like you still really want food, you're unsatisfied. Yeah, because we didn't have fat to help with any of the signaling. Okay, last phase here, phase 3, urges and cravings return. Again, not all the time. I want to say about 95% of the time, it's not as bad as when you started, but they're here and there. And the problem becomes that you actually had a really good amount of time where you didn't have that happening or it wasn't as intense. And so you freak out because you think, here we go, the weight's going to come back. I'm going back to exactly how it was. And that's not the case, but you need to not have the freak out. When you're at phase 3, again, you're going to look, am I actually balancing my foods? I talk a lot about, are you getting enough protein, enough fiber, the fats like we just talked about, but what about the ordering of how you're eating it? So are you starting with a little bit of the fiber first, some protein, and you don't have to eat all the fiber first and then the protein and then the carbohydrate. But when you use that food ordering and you have the carbohydrate just at least a little bit later, you slow down the absorption of that sugar. So it's like an obstacle course in the stomach. Physically, that the carbohydrates don't get out as quickly. You're not absorbing them. The curve is lower, means you're not having as much of a blood sugar spike. And a lot of the time, the blood sugar going up and down can be what triggers urges and cravings. The other thing that I would look at is before, when the medication is newly on, you're getting a lot more help. But as time goes on, lifestyle factors, and I hate that term, but I know no other way to sum it up, those factors start to really matter even more, and we can't overcome it with the medication. So for example, if your sleep is not great, remember when sleep is off, hunger hormone ghrelin is up. So you are more hungry. You are more emotional. You make emotional decisions with food instead of, hey, rationally, what's my goal? What would support me? What would health look like? What's the next best decision? You're not thinking like that. You're like, give me the piece of white bread. Sleep really matters. How's your stress level? There's no one that I work with that can't work on this. And this is a daily active process. This is not an emergency procedure when you're about to lose it and have a breakdown. Stress management is a daily, relentless commitment to how can I empty my stress bucket and how can I keep myself resilient? So for me, you hear me talk endlessly about this. It's the walk in the morning that I do. It's me prepping the waters and the protein drink that I have on my desk. It's me making sure that I have at least 2 proteins and 2 fibers good to go in the fridge. It's taking time to get on the vibration plate for a few minutes at the end of the day. It's deciding when the day is going to end and not, oh, I'm just going to keep working all evening. Because that boundary, while I love to overwork, I love working. Guys, I would work 24/7 if I could. That, although I don't realize it, what ends up happening is I overeat, and that's my check engine light that I'm not taking care of myself, that something is wrong. So that is stress management. And it doesn't even have to be that you're anxious or down or anything horrible is happening. Stress is just about cumulatively what is all happening and are you managing it? We are in a world of overstimulation 24/7. We are trying to multitask all the time. It's not normal. This is not normal how we're living. So you need to actually work to have a different life. There are sometimes periods where I turn everything off and I just sit on the couch in my office and I just cross my feet, I close my eyes, and I just spend a few minutes there. You can call that meditation, you can call it whatever you want, but there are times where you just need white space where nothing's going on. Most people I work with need that. So that's the stress management part. Nervous system comes into this. What do I mean by nervous system? Your body is sometimes the first signal that something's wrong. Majority of us are very disconnected. I say it's a little weeble wobble head up here and there's no idea what's happening below. One of the things we have to do is actually get you connected back to your body. One thing I noticed before I left corporate medicine was that I was getting headaches constantly. They were tension headaches. It was always by the end of the day. When I got home, when I could calm down some, when I could get sleep, the next morning I'd be okay again. But there were certain things I could do that could help that. But I just really, my body was so strongly not enjoying what was happening that was my nervous system saying, hey, we're not going to do this. So your heart might be going a little bit faster. It might be some of the feelings that you're having in your body. It's really your alarm signal for what's happening. And the more you clue in, you start to learn what the early signals are instead of it needing to be a raging fire by the time you handle it. My thought is that for nervous system regulation, do we need to do some mindful meditation, some deep breathing, a vibration plate? In some capacity, we need to manage that for you. And then the conversation, obviously, because you're listening to a physician, it's going to be, do you need to talk to your medical team? Is there an adjustment in medication, another medication that needs to be added? There's nothing wrong with that. There's no failure if that occurs. For myself, I've said how I needed to look into Contrave, which is Wellbutrin naltrexone. It never made a bigger difference in my life than when I added that. It never made a bigger difference. And I thought to myself, why didn't I start with this? There are adjustments that can be made. There is a certain pattern that you will present with, and your physician, if they work in this area all day long, will know what is right for you. Because some people, the hunger is out of control. Hunger, physical hunger, is a very different thing than urges and cravings all day long. And by the way, those of you listening, you're like, it's just your nutrition. No, it's not. No, it's not. You can be eating no processed food, not too many carbohydrates, doing all the right things, not under eating all of it, and still have urges and cravings. Some people, their physiology is different. You know, someone was like, oh, if the food industry, if we fix the food industry, all of this would be gone. And I wanted to say to this, I said a comment, but the reality is we've had overweight and obesity before the food industry ever existed, before processed food was a thing. People pretend like in the past decade, people decided that they wanted obesity. It has always been something where genetics are different. We are built to hold on to weight. This is something that we're actively having to fight. Yes, we're not as active. We have cars. There's the food industry, but that's not the only thing. This disposition was there even before. Okay, so just to summarize these 3 stages, if you're in the suppressed stage, don't fall in love too much with it. Still prioritize what matters. When you're in the more food, less restricted phase, focus back on volume-based eating. The answer is not, I just get more and more meds so that I'm more and more clamped down, because eventually that can't be sustained. Okay, phase 3, when you have more urges and cravings, really get back to, am I doing all the things that support me? The hydration, the food choices, the ordering, do I need lower carb if I have a higher insulin resistance? How's my sleep, stress, nervous system, medications? There are so many things that can be done. This is not even everything. But you need to involve your medical team. And if you're working with someone that doesn't know what they're doing, please find someone, because I think it will be really worth your time and sanity, and honestly, years of your life. Because what we know is that if this is not getting managed properly, what always really kills me is that with overweight and obesity, we die 10 to 15 years earlier if we can't manage it. And that's really sad to me. Honestly, when I learned that was something where I said, gosh, I'm going to change, right? Heart disease gets us, liver disease. I could go on, but it's real. This is not just we're not just talking theory here. We're not talking looks. I do not care about your looks at all. I'm sorry. I have no interest in just shrinking your body. I care about your health improving. Hopefully today you got some insight and you are feeling you're either feeling some relief because you've gone through all this and you realize, oh my gosh, I'm not alone, or you have some better guidance should this happen to you. It won't happen exactly like this for all of you. I have some rare birds, very rare birds, where they stay in that suppressed state the whole time. Nothing's ever changing for them. They're always feeling amazing. Awesome. It's just not the norm. And I don't want you to feel crazy if you are like most people that have this disease. And I just want you to learn how to manage it and just continue on with your life and have a full life and not have this be the thing that you're always feeling damaged with. Nothing is wrong with you. Everyone has some struggle in life. And even people that don't struggle with weight management, they have other things. So don't worry about it. They've got their problems too. I find something that's really missing out there are episodes like this, which are just real life, what we actually, like what I've seen in the past decade, right? Clinically, I think episodes like this are missing so that people can kind of get a perspective on this. All right. I want to ask you a massive favor. If you are newer to the podcast or if you've not ever done this, If you are a regular listener, you like the podcast you're listening, can you please leave a review wherever you are listening, whether it be Apple, Spotify, Audible, I don't know where you're listening. Please leave a review. It helps others to be able to find this information. And we're a little bit of a unique corner of the universe because we don't do diet culture here. We have a mix of realistic things. We bring in evidence-based medicine, but I'm also not opposed to other modalities that we know help and support things. Not everything's going to come from a randomized controlled trial. So it's a very unique mix of what we do here. If we don't have reviews, other people can't find it because that kind of helps to get the word out. I really want to ask you, if you feel so inclined, to leave a 5-star review and to really say maybe why this podcast is helpful to you so that if others are looking, they could say, oh, that might be helpful for me too. I know when I find podcasts, I always look at the reviews. I would be so grateful if you do that. And if you want to get regular updates from us, or you want to know what podcast is coming out Monday every so often, if there's the behind the scenes podcast and stuff like that, you can always get on my email list. If you go to renteaclinic.com, right on the front page, there's Hack Your Hunger Hormones. That's a 3-day course, multiple videos, and there's a PDF and everything. You could do that, or you could click on the podcast tab. And we actually have a roadmap where you can get a list of episodes in a lot of different categories. So if you just want to hear about medication, or if you just want to hear about side effects, we have it broken down in a category and hyperlinked in that free PDF. So a lot of stuff on my website if you want to check that out. Also, I think someone said, oh, I never knew that you guys do this. We have really long blog posts that go along with these episodes. So we have everything written out. So if you're ever like, oh, there's a formula or there was something talked about, you can actually search my website for formulas. You can search for hair loss. There's a lot that's there. I mean, honestly, I'm starting to realize, wow, this is actually a really comprehensive resource. So if you haven't checked out my website, I really think it's worth going there and taking a look for a lot of the free resources as well as deeper dives on things. All right. I hope that you guys have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you Friday. That marks the end of today's episode. But if you're newer to the podcast, I want to tell you about something that we have, and it's a free podcast roadmap. So this is perfect for any of you that are listening where you want to be directed to very specific episodes. So let's say that you are just starting out and you want to know, what should I do right when I start on the medications? Or you're experiencing certain side effects on the GLP-1s, or you want to know what to do if you're in a plateau, or if emotional eating is taking over, or if hunger levels are high. So we have many different categories of episodes that we've talked about, because there's a lot at this point. So if you want to be able to navigate that very easily, we have it broken down by category and also the episodes that are there, and we hyperlink to everything. So you can just click on it and find the episode, easy peasy. If you want that, you can go to renteaclinic.com/podcast roadmap. We'll have it linked right here underneath the show notes where you're listening. And you can go ahead and get that free resource so that it makes it easy for you to navigate, because I know that it's really hard when someone has an established podcast. I am such a podcast fiend. I'm listening to podcasts all day long. And when I find one that I love, but there's a lot that are out there, I am so lost. So I hope that you enjoy this free podcast roadmap. Again, the link to get to that is going to be renteaclinic.com/podcast roadmap. I hope this is helpful, and let me know if you have any questions.